Hello, it's time for Newsline, sizzling as usual. I am Jennifer Igwe, glad to have you join us. Team Nigeria's achievement in Birmingham has been described as the nation's best performance ever since the Commonwealth Games started in 1950. Our national anthem that was played after the record-breaking feat by Toby at the World Athletics Championship is still a trending celebration. For some, the wins were almost fairy tale in nature. But are the victories indication of our movement towards sports Eldorado? Our feature has answers. Then the killing of a hoteler in Oyo State is spine-chilling. After spending years abroad, he returned to Nigeria and invested in a business, even created opportunities for others. Yet his life was cut short by kidnappers. We have an update on that worrisome development, including implication of dangerous driving trends in Lagos and the link to plate numbers. We also have sights and sounds from cultural celebrations that have re-echoed over the years. But I have to stop now. First, the news segment, and Claire Adelabu Abdurazak in Abuja is on standby.
Jennifer, good evening, and it's biting cold here in Abuja. It's been raining all evening, but not to deter us from bringing the news right from our studios here in Abuja. Good evening and welcome. The federal government says, apart from intensifying measures towards the release of all the train passengers abducted 6 months ago, the commencement of commercial services on the Abuja-Kaduna Red Line depends largely on putting in place a robust security mechanism that will forestall a repeat of the ugly scenario. This was by the Minister of Transportation, Moasu Jaji Sambo, while giving an update on the commencement of freight services on the standard gauge of the Lagos-Ibadan Red Line in Lagos. Michael Olale reports.
Many wins in the rail subsector are almost undermined by security challenges, but the zeal to overcome this problem is ever strong. Apart from exploring options to return to the beautiful old days of the rail transportation, resolving all hindrance to commence freight services on the standard gauge of the Lagos-Ibadan Rail Line is important to the minister. He gave assurance that delaying takeoff will be addressed as the project is key to the overall infrastructure development agenda of the federal government as contained in its 2021 to 2025 master plan.
This administration has underscored the importance of infrastructure by creating what is called the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, if you know, to drive certain priority legacy projects. There is no administration in this country that has invested in infrastructure like the Buhari administration.
On changing the tide of the trying times which has stalled services on the Abuja-Kaduna Rail Line, the minister said government is responding positively with security force in pulling forward.
We are also looking at the best world standard security system to put in place to ensure that forever such a thing will never happen again.
Expanding the rail network, completing ongoing projects and enhancing the welfare of rail workers, the minister assures are progressing. In Lagos, Michael Alaleye, NTA News.
And troops of the Theatre Command Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have rescued another Chibok girl and 3 other girls abducted within the theatre. Theatre Commander Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, presented the rescue persons who were supported with relief materials by the Nigeria Army Officers' Wives Association President Salamatu Farouk Yahya at the command headquarters in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Maimuna Garba tells us more.
Recently, troops on frontline are making headway into various terrorist enclaves to clear them, as a result of which captives are being rescued from the bondage. To this end, Theatre Commander Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa said on the 12th of this month, another Chibok girl, Aisha Grema, who is serial number 11 on the girls list, was rescued with her 4-year-old child by troops of Sector 1, 21 Special Armored Brigade Bama. The other 3 girls, he said, escaped from captivity and were found by troops on 9th August, namely one Red Dampam from Jos Plateau State and Clarice Hidel from Jamena, Chad, all abducted in 2020, while the third lady, Hawa, was traumatized and could not give any relevant information about herself.
We will continue to do the best we can. We know there's still so many of them out there, and then we will do everything possible to ensure we get all of them back, including those ones that we had no idea they're adopted. We want to ensure everybody that's been adopted is released and back to school so that they can enjoy with the family.
Troops of Sector 1 have been able to recover at least 6 of the Chibok girls. This brings the number to 6 within the last 2 months.
National President Nigerian Army Officers Wives Association NAOA, Salamatu Faruk Yahaya, who was in Maiduguri to inaugurate developmental projects and empower women in the theatre, met with the rescued girls where she presented relief items and cash assistance to them. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
An effort of inter-agency collaboration among security organizations in Yobe State is becoming more visible with the handing over of a herd of cattle recovered from suspected rustlers to the rightful owners by the state government. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
The 2 suspects who allegedly rustled the cattle from Borno State were intercepted and taken into custody by security forces in Yobe State after exhibiting questionable characters. After a standing security committee appointed by government in the state deliberated and followed all due process, identified a 64-year-old Francis Kohul from Mubi in Adamawa State as the rightful owner of the 33 recovered cattle and officially hands them over to him.
The government of Yobe State is not only assisting security agencies, but also organizing the platform where our security agency will have a better forum for interagency synergy, coordination, and collaboration, so that client community can be neutralized.
We have to thank the security for their efforts, because their efforts have proved that in Yobe here we have a good security.
Reacting to the development, Francis Kohul says the cattle from Mubi moved to Borno State for grazing before they were stolen, hence commended Yobe State government and security forces for their efforts at ensuring that cattle rustlers are denied freedom of movement in the state. The suspects, according to authorities in the state, will be charged to court for prosecution. In Damaturu, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
In other stories, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has ordered the deployment of watertight security to cover all schools, health facilities and critical national infrastructure around the country. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Dejobi, says the IGP gave the directive while reviewing the general security situation of the nation via reports from commands and formations across the country. The IGP further tasked strategic police managers at various levels to prioritize the use of intelligence gathering networks, particularly traditional and local intelligence, to locate criminal hideouts and flush them out before they strike. A Nigerian Air Force aircraft has struck a terrorist gathering at Grebe in Shiroro local government area of Niger State after intelligence revealed that the terrorists had assembled for an important meeting hosted by Boko Haram terrorist commander Aminu Donea. Sources revealed that the airstrikes conducted weekend resulted in the death of many terrorists, though it still remains unclear if Aminu Donea was also neutralized in the strike. The strike at Kurube comes barely hours after coordinated joint air and ground operations neutralized several terrorist operations operating around Damba Galbi axis in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State, with Nigerian army troops laying siege around the location while NAF aircraft carried out the airstrikes. In Lagos, the state government says it will continue to leverage the vast experience of the United States of America to ensure and enhance good governance, safe and conducive business environment, plus foreign investments. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu gave the assurance while receiving the new United States Consul General Will Stevens at the State House in Marina, Lagos. Musa Toliat tells us more.
Talks between Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the U.S. Consul General Will Stevens border largely on collaborative efforts to stem the tide of insecurity in Lagos and by extension the entire country, especially as Nigerians count down to 2023 general elections.
It's really about our people. It's really about ensuring that we can use our opportunity, to better the lives of our citizens, our businesses, in both jurisdictions and both countries. We will, I'm sure, over the period, deepen the relationship further and build, visible, clear visions for our citizens.
There were also discussions on strengthening trade relations and partnership in education, entertainment, cultural engagement, and other initiatives capable of attracting more investors to critical sectors of the economy.
We're focused on three primary sectors. First and foremost here in Lagos State, as the Consul General, trade and investment, promoting bilateral trade and investment, helping Nigerian companies export to the U.S., U.S. companies export here, U.S. companies invest here, and Nigerian companies investing in the U.S., which raises all of our prosperity and helps us to improve.
Representative in Nigeria, responsible for leading and overseeing government activities that will enhance trade and investment relations across 17 southern states in the country. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
And the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, has commended Nigeria's efforts at promoting climate resilience, agriculture and enhancing food security. For details, let's join Musa Aliu.
For almost half of a decade, the United Nations Development Fund and the government of Nigeria have been supporting rural farmers to mitigate the impact of climate change on their agricultural activities. The 5-year project implemented in 7 states of Adamawa, Gombe, Nasarawa, Benue, Jigawa, Kano and Katsina State. Under the project, farmers, mostly women, were exposed to farming techniques, water management, marketing and value addition.
Also introduced dry season farming in some riverine communities in Benue, where they don't used to engage in dry season farming, but the project introduced them to it. So when there is no rain, they are also farming vegetables and other staple crops.
More than 90,000 direct jobs and 800,000 indirect jobs have been created through various income-generating activities to boost the beneficiaries' livelihood.
And this project is more on adaptation. It helped our smallholder farmers in those respective states that the project was implemented to increase their capacity for them to be able to cope with the issue of climate change very well.
UNDP Deputy Resident Coordinator Lillian Dinku said the project had laid the foundations for climate change response in the country through the development of national food security policy and institutional structures. As the project ends, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture appreciated the support and dedication of all development partners and state project teams as they collaborate with local communities to take action against land degradation and provide long-term solutions to food security in Nigeria. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
The Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, has described the establishment of Mariam Abacha American University, Nigeria, as a giant stride towards the development of tertiary education in the country. The Emir said this when he inspected the permanent site of the university at Uturu GRA in Kano. Abdullahi Mustafa reports.
It is a special day for the Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria community, receiving an august visitor in the month of August. The 15th Kano Emir Amina Ado Bayero is on a familiarization visit to the institution, which though new, is making significant contribution to the educational development of Kano State. On ground to receive him are management of the university, including its founder and chairman, governing council, Professor Adamu Abubakar Gwarzo, and Vice President Administration Dr. Habib Uwais Abubakar, among others. They took him round the control room, the School of Nursing Sciences and the University Library, after which he led Zuhr prayer at the University Central Mosque. The Emir expressed appreciation over the landmark development brought to Kano by Professor Adamu Abakar Gwarzo, describing it as a masterpiece. 2 days later, President Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria Kano Professor Muhammad Israr led management staff on a thank you visit to the Emir for his familiarization visit and royal blessings. He extended the gratitude of the founder and chairman governing council Professor Adamu Abakar Gwarzo for what he described the singular honor done to the Mariam Abacha American University of Nigeria Kano. The Emir, who spoke through the Makaman Kano Abdullah Sarki Ibrahim, thanked the management for the thank you visit and assured of the Emirates' support towards the development of the institution. In Kano, Abdullah Mustafa, NTA News.
And Kogi State, the World Bank and NG Cares are currently in a partnership which will provide integrated support to 330 farmers within Kogi West Senatorial Zone. The initiative has been flagged off with the distribution of farm inputs to beneficiaries. Francis Udojo reports.
The decision by the World Bank in collaboration with NG Cares to support states of the Federation is necessitated by the effect of COVID-19. Agricultural aids to farmers include fertilizers, cassava, and other inputs that can improve livelihood. In Kogi State, the program has now been flagged off in the Western Senatorial District in addition to the Eastern and Central Districts through the Fadamatu project. The state coordinator NG Cares, Sani Mohammed, performed the ceremony on behalf of the state governor, Yahya Bello.
The state government decided to key into the NG Care program to provide these resources so that you can improve your yields, you can add value to what you have produced.
330 farmers cutting across Yagba West and East, Mupamuru, as well as Kababunu benefited from the initiative.
There is no money to maintain our farm, but right now I know it will be easier for us to maintain it now.
The one I've been planting did not give me so much fruit, but I believe as they explained this one to us, it will yield.
If you plant it, it will grow. Because it is hardy, it can resist drought. It has a yield of 30 tons. We have experimented with it for the past 5 years.
Kogi State government, however, expects a multiplier effect on the investments in a short period of farming. Francis Sudojo, NTA News.
And torrential rains that lasted for 2 days have left havoc in some communities in Kano, leaving many people dead and some displaced. And while Salisu reports from one of the communities hard hit by the disaster in Ajingi local government area.
This is Aliu, a 4-year-old survivor of a collapsed building in Ajingi town. His father, Malam Aminu, said on his return from farm, he met a crowd struggling to rescue the boy who was trapped inside one of the collapsed rooms in his house.
I never expected the boy to survive the incident.
Many residents of Ajingi, Torenki and other neighboring communities have been affected by the prolonged rainstorms that destroyed more than 200 houses and property worth millions of naira.
The incident thrown a lot of people into difficulties. I have no means of rebuilding the house.
The downpour that lasted more than 2 days resulted in the death of a 4-year-old girl in this community and 3 other siblings in similar incidents in Tarai town of Kivia local government, while more than 500 people have been displaced. Executive Secretary State Emergency Management Agency Salah Ali Ujili said the state government has distributed relief items to the victims of the unfortunate disaster. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
and 442 parcels of crystal methamphetamine have been intercepted at the Sako shed of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, in Lagos. The 11.90 kg consignment, concealed in dried fish, was set for Dubai, United Arab Emirates, before it was intercepted by NDLEA operatives with 1.45 kg of cannabis seized within that period. Now, 2 suspects were arrested in connection with the seizures. Meanwhile, 7 suspects have been arrested in Enugu, Kaduna, Kano, Lagos and Abia states for their alleged trafficking of psychoactive substances and other illicit drugs. Now, culture and tradition redefined and in grand style at the just concluded 2022 Osun Osogbo Festival, as one of the leading African alcoholic drinks, Origin held what is described as Origin Festival. Now, the musical entertainment was on the sidelines of activities to commemorate the 2022 Osun Osogbo Festival, and Femi Afari-Ogun has the sights and sound coming out from that festival. For Newsline.
Yoruba culture and tradition, which remain the people's heritage, vividly showcased at the 2022 edition of Osun Osogbo Festival. Committed to the trust of showcasing Nigeria's finest cultural heritage, Nigeria's #1 herbal drink, Origin, gave devotees, tourists and youths the feel of original Yoruba culture at a nice show of activities.
This event is so much fun. Thank you to Origin and every other person who is supporting and making sure that this continues.
We are celebrating the Osun Osogbo Festival. Origin is like giving that vibe for people to celebrate their roots.
Supporting culture, heritage, and every other thing. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Bata dance, rhythmic Yoruba chants, different competitions and performance by the Yoruba music star Taye Currency added glamour and energy to the festival. Prior to the festival, a number of youths were empowered with 4 million naira grant by Origin. The brand is committed to supporting Nigerian communities while promoting originality.
Our personality encapsulates, connection to culture, connection to tradition, giving back to our own people. And for us, it's to ensure that these young people actually are proud of who they are.
Different brands of Origin, from classic Origin Bitters to Origin Tiger Nut and Ginger, Origin as well as Abba Gin and Origin Zero were served to fun seekers. The ecstatic atmosphere no doubt left partakers of the night eager for next year's Osun Osogbo Festival.
That was Femi Afari-Ogun bringing us the sights and sounds from the Osun Osogbo Festival. Now, let's talk a bit of sports. And Nigeria's Falconets scheduled to take on their South Korean counterparts in their second Group C encounter, as a win will see Nigeria progress to the quarterfinals stage of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Now, for more on this, let's join our correspondent Cynthia Ogun.
Super Eagles and Nottingham forward Taiwo Awoniyi scored the first goal in the Premier League since 23 years for his new club after Chris Bott Williams last scored against Leicester City, although Forest had Dean Henderson to thank for saving a second-half penalty from Declan Rice to give the team the needed 3 points. Meanwhile, in the other Premier League game, Harry Kane's last-minute goal was all Tottenham needed to draw 2-2 away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Away from football, sensational gymnast Stephanie Onusuruka and 8 other gymnasts competing at the ongoing International Clubs Championship in South Africa have won 5 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze for Team Nigeria at the event. The 9 gymnasts who left Nigeria for the championship, which started Saturday, are looking to improve their skills on the use of modern gymnastics equipment. And finally, to tennis, British number 2 Dan Evans has lost out in the semi-finals of the Canadian Open in Montreal after being beaten by Pablo Carreño Busta. Although Evans became the first player to take a set off the Spaniard in the tournament, he lost 7-5, 6-7, 6-2 in a match that lasted for almost 3 hours. Carreño Busta, who is ranked 23rd in the world, will play Poland's Hubert Hurkacz in his first ATP Masters final. With sports update, Cynthia Ogun, NTA News.
President Muhammad Buhari sends his condolences to the family of Tijani Ibrahim Kiyawa, a former member of the House of Representatives and official candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for Southwest Senatorial District in Jigawa State for 2023 elections. In a message to the family, the government and people of Jigawa, President Buhari described the deceased as a kind and insightful politician who placed the interests of the people he represented above his own. President Buhari notes that he left behind an indelible contribution to the social and economic development of his community and the nation, and will be remembered for his acute understanding of grassroots political mobilization. The president prayed for the repose of his soul. And that's the news from our studios in Abuja. We will take some commercial breaks, and in a couple of minutes, we will rejoin Jennifer Igwe in Lagos for continuation of Newsline. Good evening.
Every day, life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
How would it sound when you wake up one day and there's no country? Only chaos, confusion, bloodshed. No. We must stand for our nation. We must also stand for the armed forces. Our prayers, our validation of their efforts is what they need, which we must strive to give them as patriotic citizens. Together, we are stronger. One nation, one armed forces, one people, our Nigeria.
This food is delicious. And I have my pizzas now.
Okay.
What is this? Is this my bottle of bitters?
Yes. Any problem?
Any problem? No. I'm not going to take them. I want my yo-yo bitters now.
Darling, But that is bitter.
Look. Let me tell you. Your bitters is bitter. It is unique in formulation and effective in action. So take this funny stuff away and get me my yo-yo bitters now.
Yo-Yo Bitters is naturally enriched with ingredients that flushes out the body impurities, tackles waist pain, and resolves constipation. It is also fortified with vitamins. Yo-Yo Bitters boosts your body immunity against diseases and free radicals.
Because it is different in formula and action, I don't accept substitute.
Yo-Yo Bitters, leave any substitute. Use Smart Cash, the secure way to send and receive money, pay bills, and buy airtime and data. Dial *939# from any network to get started.
I beg. I want to put Smart Cash wallet.
That's smart.
Smart Cash Payment Service Bank. Money Matana sells.
Fighter from Niger, 60 years of comfort. Quality is fighter food. Quality is fighter from for sure. It's fighter. Thank you for the joy, memories of comfort.
Vitafoam is proudly Nigerian and constantly support Nigerians with consistent quality products for comfort and well-being. With Vitafoam, you don't just sleep. We give you the comfort that gets you recharged. Vitafoam, the fine art of living.
Welcome back. Usually, the leg 3 runner in a relay race is considered the slowest, but in actual fact, it is the most difficult and demanding. The fate of the team depends on whether the third leg runner can successfully maneuver the curve and hand the baton to the ankle. In this special report, correspondent Claire Adelabu Abdurazak says it seems Nigeria is in the third leg situation, a movement towards sporting El Dorado.
In hindsight, I can confidently tell you that to win medals in sports does not come by mere trying. It takes a lot of real hard work, dedication, and of course, very rigorous routine training, which begins from here on the track. From football to athletics, Nigerian athletes have represented the country well in both continental and international competitions. Interestingly, the male athletes have always dominated the stage, outshining their female counterparts. Innocent Ebunike shattered his own record with a time of 31.97 seconds in the 400 meters men in 1986. In 1997, the Ezinwa brothers, Francis Obiekwelo and Olakbade Adenikon, returned a time of 37.94 seconds in the 4x100 meters men to win a medal in the earthen squeeze. Francis Obiekwelo, Davison Ezinwa, Deji Aliyu and Innocent Asonze also gave Nigeria a podium mention at Seville in Spain in 1999. Only a handful of female athletes, including the likes of Mary Onyali, Endurance Ojokolo, Chioma Ajunwa, and most recently Blessing Okagbare, kept the pace at international competitions. Impressively, this year, Nigerian female athletes dominated the headlines. At the World Athletics Championship in Oregon, United States, Nigerian women set new records. Toby Amusan and Essie Ebrume setting the pace, winning gold and silver medals.
We broke the 1950 jinx, all-time record shattered. Ever for all the period that we've been attending the Commonwealth Games, and 5 records broken along the way.
All 12 gold medals were won by the female athletes in an unprecedented outing.
Women are really trying. They are really performing. And we give God the glory.
I won't separate the female from the male team. Let's put them together and judge them.
Yes.
This is the finest. This is the finest outing we've had in the Commonwealth competition. Toby Amusi opened up everywhere for us.
But while the women increased the tally with silver and bronze medals, the men trudged on.
Likes of Mary Onyale, Chioma Ajonwa, Yusuf Ali, and so on and so forth. So we just felt if those days could be recalled by making sure that we cross all the I's and dot the T's.
These men train themselves. And you know there will be limitations. They have limitations, and so they cannot advance further.
The male athletes managed to scale the various heats. Some of them began to show exhaustion midway into the 50-meter mark in the semis.
This time around, we've had most of our young female athletes who are hugely talented, who are experienced, who are fresh and young, competing in some of these key areas. And that's why you've seen them really excel much more than the men. That's not to say that the men are not also good. They're good. Don't forget.
And back home, Nigerians cheered the athletes on, urging them to be resilient. Some even observed the ladies' rectus abdominis muscle, that's the very visible six-pack muscular segments, indicating fitness.
Going to the Commonwealth game, I was full of confidence. I look around, I said, I am the only female that going to the Commonwealth game with Olympic silver medalist. And I know that I'm going to have some tough matches in the Commonwealth.
But my aim was to win the gold because everybody in the weights, I am capable to bring them down. But due to the injury, I can't win the second fight. But I believe that in Olympics 2024, we are going to meet again.
Whatever the reasons for the poor performance of our male athletes may be, it will be uncharitable not to leverage the lessons that Birmingham Games bring.
We're going to talk, we're going to make powerful pitches on behalf of our athletes to corporate Nigeria, to state governors, etc., so that this funding can go on. It was designed to roll over for the next 2 years. And that's exactly what we need, so that we can achieve the podium performance that we desire as a country when we get to France 2024.
Undoubtedly, this year's performance will certainly spur more women like me into sports. And as Ethe Brumet notes, it will require consistency, very hard work, and of course support from sports authorities. Fortunately, like upcoming athletes like me, age won't be a barrier.
It won't be a barrier indeed, and I can't wait for Claire to start. Very interesting. And you know, people like Mary Onyale, Falilat Ogunkoya, Innocent Egbunike did great things when they were very young. Today, we still have vibrant youths who are ready to take the baton to higher levels. We need to explore this, and we need to be tactical about it. Now, it is common for people to seek success in their various endeavors through prayers. However, when the phrase, the end justifies the means, becomes a blanket cover for achieving one's objectives, the question that comes to mind is, what moral right applies to praying for evil to a God of good? Rosemary Bilial walks this tightrope in this report to find out if God answers all prayers for the good and the bad.
Normal for one to pray to his or her God every morning, irrespective of religious belief.
Somebody can offend you rightly by action or inaction. You know what the person supposed to do, that he didn't do.
But what informs it or at the prayer point, especially when it comes to livelihood or success in vocations or profession? Do you pray for people's misfortune in order for you to gain or prosper?
No, I don't pray that now.
Because normally car is a machine. Definitely must spoil.
I pray for people to come for my workshop, but I don't pray for their tire to burst or get any other fault.
Talk about medical practitioners who take care of human life. Do they pray for people to be sick in order for them to earn a living?
I pray for God to give me the grace and the ability to take care of people when they fall sick. I don't, and I have never ever prayed for people to come to the hospital.
Let's hear from a legal practitioner. Do they also pray for conflicts so that people can run to them?
Not that I pray for it, but it's inevitable. It happens. I always pray that God gives me the courage to speak up when I should speak up, when I should hold my peace.
The policeman who saddled with the responsibility of protecting lives and property, what are his wishes?
But we don't pray a crisis to happen. But we know some offense will be committed by some people. But we always pray not to get so many crime in a society.
Other service providers are the mechanics and vulcanizers. What are their wishes concerning people's vehicles?
I'm just praying for my own work where I'm getting. Just God bring work to me. I can serve my family well.
I would like to pray to God that my customer car will spoil, then they will locate me.
So you are part of people that pray for car to spoil so that they will come?
Without car no spoil, I want to shop.
Not forgetting footballers, among others, who also prayed on the same field for success, but at the end of the day, only one winner emerged.
The Bible says we should pray that give us this day our daily bread. We make a request generally, not with the mindset that patient people be sick so that doctor can have money. But God knows how to meet every need.
And what you pray or wish others shall one day, sooner or later, come back to you. Meaning, we must wish people well.
What about armed robbers and prostitutes? Does God answer them? Ladies have more to say.
For example, if somebody comes to me and confesses that he is an armed robber and that he wants to succeed, by God who made me, I will not offer that prayer.
Prayers are answered by His will, not by the method, not by the approach. You may pray in your heart, God answers, right? You may shout and scream, God answers.
One lucrative but not too attractive business is casket building. Casket is solely for funeral activities.
We know that death is inevitable. It's sure. Even though if I'm not here, other people must do it. People that build mortuary, they build it, they know, say, yes, somebody must die. They are not praying for people to die, but they know that somebody must die, and they will bring them there. So I am not praying for people to die at all.
God is good, and He never changes. His thoughts concerning man is of good and not of evil.
One thing I know for sure is that God does not answer evil prayers. Most people come to believe some things we see on social media, and sometimes it can really be worrisome. Now there's one, it's a year of 1,000. It's a year of 1,000 that they claim comes once in 10,000 years. Annie Daniels also did, because even though it is simple mathematics, because of the way it was written, she also fell for it. But is it true? Let's find out from Annie.
Have you seen this post? It is an amazing one, a mathematical puzzle. It suggests that you can know your age by calculating your age and your date of birth. And the answer, 2022.
I've not done that research myself to see whether it is true.
Actually solved some people's age, and it was actually right. A few people that I knew.
I've been seeing it on nets as well.
So do you believe it?
I believe it.
And it turned me into an accidental mathematician. Then I saw it was true. Surprisingly, a scientist and mathematician, Stanley Chibuihe, says it doesn't follow.
Just say you are filling jam form and you are born in 1960, for example, and they ask you how many years are you, you will just say 2022 minus 1960, you get 62, which is your age. That is just what is happening, no other thing. It's a simple mathematics. You can see where I've done it. 2020 minus 1960, you get 62 years.
This post has not only gone viral, but has also been believed that this date has been waiting for 1,000 years to reappear.
But I prove it to you now that it doesn't happen once in 1,000 years. It happens every year. I've shown you that by next year it will be 2023. And the minus 160, minus 1960, when Nigeria was born, you are going to get 63 years. So it is not that it happened once in 1,000 years, because this is just a simple rearrangement. The only thing that changes is just your age.
Stanley blames the wide acceptance of this post to lack of research and phobia for mathematics.
Albert Einstein, who is regarded as one of the greatest scientists the world has ever produced, if you do research, you found that at the age of 9, go and check what I'm telling you online. At the age of 9, Albert Einstein could not speak fluently and was not doing well in the class. That his teacher in Germany even told him that Einstein, you will never become something reasonable in life. Go and check it on Google. You'll see what I'm telling you. But with dexterity and resilience, Albert Einstein improved on his studies and he became the greatest scientist, or one of the greatest scientists the world has ever produced.
Now you have known it is not true. What will be your next step? Did I forget to ask the source of this post?
It's actually simple maths. And we have a lot on the social media, so be careful what you read and don't get carried away. To a dangerous trend in Lagos. Can you imagine cruising in an exotic car and all of a sudden the vehicle is snatched? Did I hear you say God forbid? Okay, that's the usual prayer. What about when the vehicle can't be recovered because of the part you played in the act? You're wondering what act? Let's hear from Annie Daniels, whose experience I'm sure you will learn from.
It has been a very hectic and busy day for officers of the Lagos State Police Command and sister agencies who are determined to ensure that motorists no longer abuse the use of spy number plates. Yes, it was indeed a busy day, especially because the security personnel were faced with greater challenge of motorists driving without complete vehicle number plates.
I'm not the owner of the vehicle, I'm a driver. And I cannot dictate what he will do.
In 30 minutes of our stay here at the Lekki toll gate, about 15 exotic cars were found guilty of the offense.
If they want to put it, they will put it with a screw. Also, this screw can punch the radiator. My friend have this kind of vehicle, have put his own at the front of it and they later lost it because it fall off. So you now have to go and carve it to in a rubber plate. So I now notice I don't have that kind of information. I said, okay, let me be carrying it in my car. Anywhere I'm going, it's inside my vehicle.
This car dealer says he is exempted because the law permits him to drive without number plates. Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin and Sector Commander, Federal Road Safety Corps, Lagos, Segun Ogungbemide, clears the air on this.
From the moment you buy your vehicle till the moment you register, there is a 3-month grace period. So if you fall within that category, of course you won't be arrested, except you fall beyond. If you are out of that grace period, then of course you would be arrested.
When you are a car dealer, you are given a pair or some numbers of number plates in line with the brand you are registered with. And the implication is that we know you could have so many cars in your shop, and it has not also stopped you from making sure that your car has a pair attached to the vehicle at the same time.
Same number too.
Same number. It's not that you have one in front and the other one at the rear, or you have one and you don't put the other one. No, the law says you must affix a pair. One in front and the second one at the rear.
Listen to more.
Are you telling me that a car that is moving on the highway, even if it's dealer's car, cannot get involved in a crash? Or you are telling me that such vehicle cannot be involved in hit and run? Who do we hold responsible? Because when that such vehicle gets involved in a crash, the number, when we check through our data, will give us details of whoever that must have registered it on that car dealership.
And what is the punishment for driving without complete number plates?
For Federal Road Safety Corps, we call it number plate violation. and the penalty is 3,000 naira.
These respondents say 3,000 naira as a fine for driving without complete number plate is laughable and wish a stronger punishment will be employed because the motorist might turn out to be a hit-and-run car owner. Yes, they are right. Or Jennifer, don't you agree with me?
And I agree with you. That's really a mega sum, really laughable. So, or your state where a killing I talked about earlier on needs to be looked into, very worrisome. After spending years overseas and with fortune smiling on him, he returned to his country home to invest in a business and provide job opportunities for some Nigerians. What could have been a success story actually became Ore for Olugbenga Owolabi, an Ogbomoso-based hoteler in Oyo State. What went wrong and why the sad turn in the beautiful story? Adebola Agbaje will fill us in on the sad ending to the story.
Olugbenga Owolabi, a US-based businessman, reacted positively to the call by the federal government appealing to those in diaspora to return home and help build the Nigeria of everybody's dream. And so, in December 2021, he built a hotel in Ogbomoso, his country home, and since then, the business was progressing unhindered until Friday, July 29, 2022, when Owolabi was kidnapped alongside his part-time staff, Rachel Okpadile, a 500 level student of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology at Abba area of the ancient town. The adopters had earlier reached out to the family and a son was allegedly raised and paid, but the kidnappers did not spare the life of Owolabi, Okpadile, and the motorcyclist, while the person who carried the money to them narrowly escaped death.
Some businessmen might want to have a rethink, but I caught the local government, state government, and the federal government is kidnappings, insecurity as a whole comes to an end in Ogbomoso.
Since the incident, Owolabi's hotel is under lock and key, while residents of Ogbomoso staged a peaceful protest to condemn in strong terms cases of kidnapping in the area.
This act of banditry and terrorism that is in our country, Nigeria, and is terrorizing all domains and territories.
We want to appeal to anybody that are party to listen to repent or to change, because nemesis will soon catch up with them. It's a great thing within the time. We need to notify the people.
The bereaved mother of Okpadile, Grace Okpadile, who is yet to come to terms with the sudden death of her beloved daughter, called on government at all levels to initiate ways to end kidnapping in Nigeria.
This is horrible, and we hope the culprits are brought to book. We'll take a break. Newsline will continue shortly.
Introducing Jado Cooking Oil, a quality cooking oil for tasty and sumptuous meals made with 100% pure soya. It is rich in cooking, fortified with essential vitamins needed for the nourishment of the body. Jado Cooking Oil comes in different sizes, ranging from 1 liter, 3 liters, 5 liters, 10 liters, 25 liters, and also in a sachet. Jado Cooking Oil is available in any supermarket nearest to you. To order now, call 0903 364 3330 and it will be delivered to you anywhere in Nigeria. For more details, visit our website www.jadooil.ng. Jado Cooking Oil, quality oil for tasty meals.
Have you been disconnected because you didn't link your national identification number to your MTN number? Don't worry. If you already have your NIN, here are 5 easy ways to reconnect. 1. Dial *785 hash. 2. Text your NIN to 785. 3. Use WhatsApp to chat with Ziggy. 4. Use the My MTN NG app. 5. Visit mtn.ng/NIN. Whatever method you choose, make sure you get a confirmation message. If you don't have an NIN, simply visit www.mtn.ng to book an appointment or just walk into an MTN store NIMC center near you. What are we doing today?
Nigeria Golf Federation announces its first Nigeria Golf Federation Summit. This summit will discuss salient topical issues that relate to the development and upliftment of golf in Nigeria. Chairman General IBM Haruna. Special guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Sports, Mr. Sunday Dare. Convener, Otumba Olusegun Rushewe, OON, President Nigeria Golf Federation. Date 31st August to 2nd September 2022. Venue, Ladikwali Hall, Sheraton Hotel and Towers, Abuja. Time 10 a.m. prompt. This event is supported by Polaris Bank, Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa Independent Television, AIT, Golf Garden, Anchor Insurance, and Royal Ceramics. Otumba Olusegun Rushewe, OON, President, Nigeria Golf Federation, announcer.
Nivea Natural Fairness is now Nivea Perfect and Radiant. Reveal your skin's natural radiance with Nivea Perfect and Radiant, enriched with berry extracts and UV filters to reduce dark spots and even out your skin tone. For radiant and even-toned skin, say hello again to Nivea Perfect and Radiant Body Lotion. Try the full Nivea Perfect and Radiant range to unlock your most radiant self.
A peak protein breakfast gets me through a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes to his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. Because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with protein breakfast. Reach for your peak.
You clean your teeth every morning, but that fresh breath feeling just doesn't last. The answer? Easy. You keep your teeth strong and healthy and give your mouth long-lasting fresh breath with new Oral-B 2-in-1 toothpaste. It helps strengthen your teeth and gives you long-lasting fresh breath.
So fresh, feel fresh, and feel fresh.
Stay strong, stay fresh. New Oral-B toothpaste for strong teeth and long-lasting fresh breath.
Good day ahead.
New Ovaltine 3-in-1. Smart choice for smart kids.
Come back. Some oil companies have continued to be deliberate and proactive in their corporate social responsibility projects across Nigeria. I'm talking about Total Energies EP Nigeria Limited, NNPC Limited, and Prime Sinok and Sepetro. This is in their quest to mitigate gaps in education, healthcare, provision of safe drinking water, women and youth empowerment, and other amenities. The initiatives are all in line with various United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The latest in their efforts is the inauguration of 14 projects across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Lydia Sampson has more to tell us.
Globally, the financial empowerment of women has been identified as the key to unlocking poverty and wealth creation. Little wonder the inauguration of Women Development and Skills Acquisition Center in Chatanga local government area in Niger State by Total Energies, NNPC and partners attracted accolades from 2 state governors.
Most on behalf of the government and the entire people of Niger State, thank NNPC and Total Energy and all other partners for this wonderful edifice.
I know that this is something that would not just benefit our women, it will benefit the entire community.
For the women of the state, it is the dawn of a new era. These resonate with all of the corporate social responsibility projects of the partners, which ranges from educational institutions, specialist health centers, and solar-powered social amenities. These projects include fully furnished and equipped state-of-the-art secondary school structures, information dissemination, communications, technology, and ICT, with mini theater centers, skills acquisition and development centers for women and youth, mammography centers, maternal and child referral centers, classroom blocks, and solar-powered water projects and treatment plants. In all the communities where the projects are located, the joy is palpable.
I'm really thankful, grateful to those that have made this very possible. It is a landmark development. With the mammography center being here, we can do more detections, and we believe that very soon we'll be having them, catching them early and taking care of them.
Today is a happy day for me, for Imo lives, for people of Olu community. And for the first time in my career, I met a young girl of 23 years suffering with an advanced breast cancer.
For Total Energies, NMPC and partners, it is not just enough to operate in the country without giving back positively to impact the lives of the people in Nigerian communities. Cutting across Abia, Imo, Anambra, Cross Rivers, Delta, Benue, Niger, Ondo, Borno, Gombe, and Kaduna states.
In 2016, Total Energies commenced a robust plan to deploy CSR infrastructure developments across the country. And this resulted in a strategy to deliver 84 infrastructure projects.
The inauguration of the Science Laboratory project at the Federal Government Girls College, Boko, Benue State, is the last but not the least in batch 4 projects of Total Energies EMP Nigeria Limited and partners.
Those who will be entrusted with the running, the management of this edifice, to do their best to make sure that proper impact of this particular project is felt.
Total Energies makes CSR a priority in the host communities and host country. In the last 3 years alone, it has inaugurated a total of 53 trailblazing CSR projects in Nigeria and plans to complete an additional 31 projects by the end of the year.
Good initiative. Now, thousands of worshippers and devotees from across the world, including residents, converged on Osun State Sacred Grove, for the grand finale of this year's Osun Oshogbo Festival at the weekend, where sacrifices were offered to the goddess of Osun River by traditional priests. It is one of the major festivals in Nigeria, which has over the years gained international recognition. Segun Lawole brings us the rich cultural heritage of Osun State displayed at the 2 weeks celebration.
For the past 2 weeks, devotees and worshippers, including priests of Osun River Goddess, engage in a series of traditional rites. Thousands of people bear witness to the ceremonies to offer prayers, seeking protection for the land and giving honor to Osun, the goddess of fertility. The festival, which has become a major tourist attraction beyond the shores of Nigeria, is held in the Osun Sacred Grove, which today has become a World Heritage Site by UNESCO.
The Osun Osogbo Festival is very valuable because when we worship Osun, we in the diaspora have been lost, but now we have rediscovered our culture.
The festival is celebrated every year. People come all over the world, not only from Nigeria, all over the world. It's a long time activity.
By celebrating this festival, we are trying to promote the culture of the people of Osogbo, and by that we are also promoting the culture of Nigeria.
Journey of the Volta maid, who bears the annual sacrifice to the grove to appease the river goddess, begins from the Ataoja's palace in admiration of the rich cultural heritage by the people of Osun and hundreds of tourists. The faithful, as usual, take from the water for divine solution to their problems.
Osun Osogbo Festival has moved from local festival to international festival. The UNESCO have recognized this festival as one of the most important festivals in the world.
The Ataoja of Osogbo, His Royal Highness Oba Jimoh Olanipekun, received his chiefs, families, social groups and devotees for royal blessings while paying homage to the monarch.
On culture. Culture and its heritage reflects and shapes the values, beliefs, and aspirations of a people, thereby defining their national identity. Over time, it has been observed that some of our cultural values are being eroded by internal and external influences. This worrisome trend is giving cause for concern to culture enthusiasts and other patriotic citizens. Ifoma Omesa chronicles efforts to reverse the trend.
Nigerian culture plays an important role in the lives of the people and the society as a whole. Culture helps to direct, control, and remind the people of their roots and beliefs, and in turn organize the human existence. It is basically what makes a person human. One of the highlights of the annual May 27 celebration is to draw attention to the welfare and protection of children. The 2022 celebration took a different twist as it focused on the preservation of the rich culture of Nigeria so that it doesn't go extinct. With reports of intertribal clashes, the day was used to remind them of the need for unity and peaceful coexistence in the country.
Babu sani babu sabo wanda ke shirin fatan ki zai gani.
Humanity of the people's way of life. The way they walk, the way they eat, the way they do all manner of things. That's why it's easy for you to identify somebody who is from the north. They also man. You can see their accent, it is their culture.
Possibility of building children is not only that of the teachers, it's not only that of the parents, it's that of the entire society. And we're not only building the future that we want to see in our children, we also want to let them know who we are.
We should keep to the rules and regulation of our culture. We should show that African life in us.
I think it's very important we showcase our nativity and our originality with respect to where we are all coming from.
For me, I wouldn't like my culture to die. My children knows how to read in my language. They speak my language. You know, it is left for those who feel that culture is not valued. You know, like in my place, there's one festival called Egwaba. You know, we don't play with it. Even people who in diaspora, they used to come, you know, so that their children will know where they are coming from.
Understand our culture of every individual. The issue of segregation will not just be there. Because it's because of lack of understanding our culture that we are all the same from one soul, Adam and Eve.
Have children imbibe the culture of the African man. We have a very rich African culture. And so we are discovering that people are gradually losing it. So we want to take children back to the culture.
Culture has become an invaluable tool for development. It is because it has remained a source of transmission of cultural ideas and norms of the society from one generation to the other.
You can see the mood of the children. They're all properly dressed in Calabari culture. So we want to support what NTA is doing.
Children right now are not really aware of our culture, so it helps promote the culture.
For these young ones, culture is consequential as it determines their development and historical knowledge.
It represents my culture. Calabar.
In a delicate time like this, it is pertinent to ensure that against all odds, citizens remain united.
Denying culture and your traditional values is like lying to yourself. You can't run away from culture. The death of Nollywood actor Ada Ame has thrown Nigerians, especially movie enthusiasts, into mourning as they express shock and grief. The actress was known for her role as Emu in Africa Magic drama The Johnsons. She died at the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC hospital in Warri, Delta State. Tessie Coker reports that her fans are still trying to come to terms with her death.
Nile, wetin be this? The correct one. Now what you want is to do?
Go to our site now. You want a life pepper soup. By the time you use this alright plantain, take arrange this goat meat. You gonna enjoy yourself.
Ada Ame was a Nigerian actress whose career spanned over 2 decades in the Nigerian movie industry. A period she excited Nigerians with her acting skills, featuring in both comedy as a thing in the award-winning family sitcom, The Johnsons, and from her role as Anita in the 1996 movie Domitila. Ame displayed her dexterity as an actress in her ability to fit into many roles assigned to her by the producers. In the Johnsons series, she starred alongside notable Nollywood icons such as Charles Inoje, Chinedu Ikedieze, among others.
What is going on here?
They practice as I go take go show them for that good luck their village. May they know say their in-law will be small person.
Then what are you?
Officer Moa told him. Okay.
The news of her passing was very shocking to many, especially the Nollywood family.
We've lost a lot, and concerning Ada's case, it's still very fresh in our heart, very painful, sorrowful. We will forever miss that genuine artist, a wonderful interpreter of scripts.
So she's someone I admired so much, and I was hoping to work with her as a Nollywood producer and actress. I've been longing to work with that lady.
Nollywood as a whole has lost a rare game.
Ame revealed her battle with depression, which began following the death of her only child.
Yeah, I have an issue right now, and it's taking my life, and I will die. We'll get over it.
Also having lost other close family to cold hands of death. To some of her fans, how will the Johnsons family be without Ame? For them, Nigeria has lost another talented personality.
What is entertainment about is giving people joy, giving people happiness. That she did in all the parts she played, in all the appearances she made. She gave joy to homes, gave joy to individuals.
The movie I watched some years ago, Domitila, that was when Nollywood was evolving. It was just coming up then, and she gave a very great account of herself. I like the way she speaks. She's speaking in pure English. She speaks very well. If it is pidgin, of course, you have to see that worry touch of a pidgin in her. And
she was a great entertainer, and she lifted the image of Delta State.
It might interest you to know that Ada Ame hails from Idoma in Benue State, but was raised in Delta State. Little wonder she has a typical Warri accent, which she used to tickle the fancy of her fans. She will be remembered for the joy and laughter she brought to many homes.
She was very good and one of my favorite actors. Ada will be buried this week, and she will be thoroughly missed. May her dear soul rest in peace. We'll take a break now.
Efficiency and quality. National Center for Women Development. A home away from home. With our newly renovated rooms and conference facilities, the facility has a standard, single, and double rooms. We are second to none in Abuja and uncomparable to none. We also have standby power source. Visit us today at the National Center for Women Development, Central District area, opposite Central Bank of Nigeria Headquarters, Abuja, or telephone 070-511-1163, or visit our website www.ncwd.gov.ng. National Center for Women Development, rebranding, restructuring, and repositioning.
When times are tough, we know that as a mother, one thing you should never compromise on is your family's oral health, because they deserve the best. Oral-B all-round protection. Its great value, it protects your mouth from harmful bacteria and also protects you against tooth holes and gum problems which can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier, stronger teeth in just 1 week.
August meeting is where women always plan how the grassroots will be able to work.
Like a bird needs wings to fly, you need skills to be productive. No matter the level of your education, ITF can train you to acquire skills in areas like mechatronics, metal machining, facility technology, electronics and computer networking, information and communication technology, ICT, culinary art, and agriculture. Acquire a skill and transform yourself from being unemployed to becoming even an employer. Be a valuable Nigerian youth. Say no to unemployment and poverty. It's time. Industrial Training Fund, developing the nation's human resource.
Is it the way that you look at me? Or the ways that you make me feel? 'Cause I just wanna get involved. I just wanna feel so overwhelmed with your touch and taking me all the way to the moon. To get involved. For the best, my inclination never goes deep down. I just love it for it. If it's all dream, let us go. Setting the mood right, but you can make me a dream.
Music is fuel that fires up our soul. Today, African music has a dominant place on the world map. This massive music movement creating waves across the globe.
I have seen the evolution and the growth of this industry.
But every movement starts with a story, and the best place to start any story is at the very beginning.
There's a primordial energy that can only have come from Africa.
Welcome back. Ever heard of the Kanuri people? Their marriage tradition is such that captures the eyes of many. In fact, for some, it's hearsay that most Kanuri parents receive gold coin as dowry before a union is sealed. Well, Najatu Tijani will tell us the story of Shehu Musa Yaradua's son of late President Umaru Musa Yaradua, who traveled down to Maiduguri for his long-time heartthrob, Yasin.
Here comes the bride, all dressed in white, her groom filled with delight. Let's take a moment to look behind the scene at an event every parent looks forward to. The happy union of this couple, Shehu, son of late President Umar Musa Yaradua, and Yasin Noor, daughter of Honorable Muhammad Noor Sharif, representing Bama, Ngala, and Kalabalgi federal constituency in the House of Representatives, begins with the customary nikah. Top politicians, traditional rulers, captains of industry, and members of the diplomatic community are also witnesses to this union of the son of the late president, who was much loved by the people. Loyalty, even in death, as is evidenced in the attendance, not only at the mosque, but also during the grand wedding reception hosted by the mother of the groom, Ture Eradua. In another display of loyalty, as well as reward for hard work and good leadership, a planning committee for the wedding, headed by the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Alhaji Ayale Ahmed, came together to prepare for the wedding fatia in Maiduguri and the dinner in Abuja.
Even though we are here to celebrate, it is also a solemn occasion that we remember the father of the groom, Madam Umaru Musa Eradua.
Though the father of the groom is not around to witness the occasion, family and friends step in with nuggets of wisdom for a fruitful union.
It's very unique, very, very important. There's no secret to a happy married life other than become each other's best friends and best confidants.
Their union will be an eternal and pleasant one memory in their life.
I would therefore wish to advise Shehu and his lovely bride that they have to learn to live, to love.
I wish them a very successful marriage.
But more importantly, it's also a day for us as well-wishers to lead the young couple in praying to the Almighty Allah to guide their every conduct in future.
29-year-old Shehu is a graduate of economics, while Yasin is a 22-year-old graduate with a bachelor's degree in hospitality management.
Happy married life, Auntie Yasin and Uncle Umaru. We wish you long life. May Allah bless your marriage.
Wish them the very best and happiness forever. Now to the burial. Living up to 8 decades in this generation, when many odds are against humanity, can only be achieved by God's grace. Hence, it was a celebration of life as relations and friends gathered at Ihim community, autonomous community in Isialambano local government area of Imo State to pay their last respect to a woman who not only made it to 86, but left indelible marks as a rare gem in the minds of many. The event was the funeral service of late Ezine Dorothy Chinkata Anyanile at the Church of Pentecost Anglican Communion, Isiama, Isialambano. Loretta Arinze Egwem reports that amongst those she left behind is Chioma Juliet Anyanile, Assistant Director News, NTA Makurdi Network Center.
This is the gathering of family members, friends, and well-wishers who turn out from far and near to pay their last respect to a woman they describe as a red gem, late Ezine Dorothy Anyanile.
The God is calling upon us to have hope in the midst of disaster. And to have hope in the midst of disaster, we need to return to God in repentance of our sin. And we need to remain in God, living a life of righteousness. And Jesus Christ is that hope in particular.
The disease was later laid to rest at the family compound. Her daughter, Juliet Anyenele, an assistant director news NTA Makurdi Network Center, alongside her siblings, described their late mother as a loving woman whose legacies will forever be cherished.
My mother was one in a million. She was so kind, so generous. She cared for all of us, her children, and even extended family.
A very peaceful woman, just a loving woman that loved his children. My grandmother was a great woman. I really miss those days when she took care of me when I was small.
For those she has left behind, especially her children, they all had the duty of carrying on her legacies and to continue to be her ambassadors.
I pray God to condole them, to comfort them in a special way.
The family will continue to go from strength to strength. Even though she's gone today, but she definitely left an indelible mark.
She lived a good, godly life.
Children, instruct them to know about God.
She was a really nice lady. She would tell us prayers in the morning.
Until her death, late Ezine Dorothy Anyanele was a lay reader in the Anglican Communion. She was an educationist who retired as a supervisor of schools. She died at 86.
May her dear soul rest in peace. Amen. It was an endless session of positive testimonies as sympathizers across the country converged on Otukpo, Benue State to pay their last respect to late Mama Josephine Ifeyiwa Bongos Ikwe, who passed on to glory at the age of 73. Catholic Bishop of Otukpo Diocese, Most Reverend Michael Apochi, who officiated the funeral mass at the St. Mary's Catholic Church, Otukpo, admonished Christians not to be discouraged, but to see death as a window to eternal glory. Moses Ajawo Ode reports that the deceased was the wife of the music legend Bongos Ikwe.
The funeral rites of late Mama Josephine Bongos Ikwe began with a service of songs in Abuja with notable Nigerians, including the former Senate President, David Mark, in attendance.
The good Lord will give you and all your children the fortitude to bear this loss, the courage to accept it, and the wisdom to continue to praise God.
The burial event continues in Otukpo, where a funeral mass was held at the St. Mary's Catholic Church, where family members and sympathizers from all walks of life attended.
God enabled her to help us realize many things. And as we are here this morning, we are simply saying to the Lord, here is your daughter, the one you sent for our community to bear witness to Christ, your Son.
At a special reception, the husband, Bongos Ikwe, and daughter, KK Bongos Ikwe, expressed gratitude to friends and the church.
In one sentence, my wife is a Jew.
I pray to God that those of you who have experience and love will be able to know how to love people, whether or not they've offended you. You know, it's only the grace of God that will continue keeping us to have that kind of strength, because it takes strength to love.
Joe, you may have passed on, but we will remain and live on and on and on and on in our hearts until we meet the path home. I am honest to God going to miss her because of who she is.
I grew up and I knew myself as a human being with her. And she did everything for me.
And if your loss is our loss, and we will do everything possible to give you the necessary support that will enable you to develop the fortitude to bear this very quantum irreparable loss. Let me ask you all, my brothers and sisters, to have consideration in the life of service to humanity and all other virtues that this woman represented. This is my story and my song.
the author of life is my God.
Mama Josephine Ifeanyi Bongos Ikwe was born in 1949 to the royal family of Iseleuku in Delta State, married and had 5 children with her Benue-born musical legend, Bongos Ikwe.
Her remains have since been committed to Mother Earth in an exclusive ceremony in her husband's family compound in Otukpo.
Dear soul, rest in peace. Now, this is where we'll end Newsline tonight. Thank you for being a part of it. Join us again next week. Good night and God bless Nigeria.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Well, 24 hours, that is it. It cannot go beyond that. For others, 24 hours in a day, it's a burden. For some, it's okay, 24 hours, that's the way it is. But for a lot of people, 24 hours seems to be inadequate. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that no matter what it is, no matter how it is, it cannot change, but you are the pilot. You now decide on what to do with the time you have. 24 hours cannot go beyond 24 hours. So what you do with the time is your own business. So you decide on that. Welcome to Reflections. My name is Yusuf Nadabo Usman, and we're reaching you from the NTA, Africa's largest TV network. This week, we would try as much as possible to look at politics from the point of view of a person who has seen most of Nigeria's democratic transition since 1999 to date. And has been a person who has been at the center of the show talking about the legislature from 1999. My guest is the second speaker of the Fourth Republic in the person of Gali Umar Naba. Welcome to Reflection, sir.
Thank you very much, Maling Yusuf.
Thank you, sir. A lot of people really want to know, having been hearing the name since 1998-99, Gali Umar Naba has been a household name in Nigeria. When you talk about the legislature, which is the brick and then the main instrument of democracy. Gali Umar Naba, how did he become? When did he become? How did he become? What has he become? All true. That's the question most people ask, because the name has been so much obscure before the time. But with the coming of democracy in 1999, the name started ringing bell. Let's say your background. Who are you?
Well, I was born in Kano City.
Right.
Of Kano Municipal Area of Kano State. And I was born on 27th September 1958.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to primary school. I attended what was called Mayanka Primary School. It's now called Jakara Primary School. I started in 1964. I completed in 1970.
Okay.
I then attended Rumfa College, Kano, former Kano Middle School, from 1970 to 1974.
Mm-hmm.
I then went to the Kano State School for Preliminary Studies.
Okay.
From 1976 to 79. And then from there, I was admitted into the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, which I completed in 1979.
Okay.
I did my youth corps, and I joined my father's business.
Yeah, before you joined your father's business, you completed 1979 from the Ahmad Bello University, Zaria. What did you study?
I studied political science.
Okay.
In the university. And that was a deliberate choice. It is connected with my growing up.
I was about to ask you, when you said you joined your father's business, it seems your father was a businessman, and one would think that as somebody who is from the business family would want to go and read something business, but say it's deliberate.
Well, I didn't actually want to prepare myself to become a businessman. Circumstances forced me to have to go into business. I believe and I'm convinced that I am prepared to be a politician. A politician in a developmental sense. Because of the way and manner my life was being shaped since my childhood. I grew up in an enclave where Nepu in Kano was very popular. In fact, my father was a member of Nepu, and he was its treasurer at one point, until his father-in-law, who was a member of the MPC, and at one time the leader of the business class in the Northern House of Assembly, exhorted him to have to leave Nepu. And because the merchant class helped Nepu a lot, the merchant class in Kano shared responsibilities among themselves, towards the well-being of the late Mala Aminu Kano, who was the leader of the party. So my father's responsibility was to provide the clothing of Mala Aminu Kano. So whatever dress you saw then
on the Mala
Aminu Kano, most of these dresses were, sewn, were prepared by my father. And then others took responsibilities for the paying of his bills, electricity, water, food, and other things. So that was how he got freed, to participate actively in politics.
But wait a minute, why all these contributions from various people to a person so renowned as Malam Aminu Kano? Or what was the philosophy behind all this?
Well, the philosophy is to emancipate the people. When NEPO started, we were under colonial rule, and the objective was to fight colonial rule. After colonial rule, it was to fight the aristocracy. That was it. And the merchant class, sociologically, Kano city is like divided. It's a divided city. One part consists of mainly the business class. And the other part consists mainly of people from aristocracy and their servants and support staff. So there's this division up till now. And I witnessed particularly situations where around the 1964 elections, we could not even attend our Islamia school in the evenings, because most of the times we'll see policemen, raiding houses in our area. We had to run back to our houses.
Why the raid then?
Well, it was an enclave, and normally when election time came, the NEPO elements and other opposition members would be rounded up and arrested and jailed, only to be released after the election in what they used to describe as the wisdom of the premier. In his own wisdom, the premier has granted amnesty to the following. That was what used to take place.
That's to score some political votes afterwards.
Yes. So that situation caused me to start asking questions
Okay.
about freedom. Why should people be subjected to such indignities? And because also the Islamia school I attended was established by Malam Amin Kanu because he was living in our area.
Okay.
And almost every day, with the exception of Thursdays and Fridays, after we left the Islamia school, we'll go to his house and had dinner with him.
Okay.
And in his house, as you are going in, there's a library. You know, it's an open place, many books. So that was where I started reading books. I saw many books and read some. That was why I started knowing Mao Zedong of China, Lenin, and so on and so forth.
Do you belong to the Marxist school of thought while in the university?
Well, I read Marxism.
Because you started talking about Lenin now.
Yes.
What I really want to ask that at university, normally that was what was Lenin then.
Yes.
Marxism, socialism, and the rest of that.
Yes, I read Marxism in the school. And at one point, I was a member of what you called the Movement for a Progressive Nigeria.
Okay.
And my faculty, the Faculty of Social Sciences in Ahmadu Bello University, was a hotbed of, revolutionary ideas.
Yeah.
We had revolutionary teachers. We had, I don't know if you know them. We had a Professor Patrick Wilmot. We had a Professor Bala Usman.
Yeah.
We had Professor Wang Metuye and so on and so forth. So there is hardly any person who went through the Faculty of Social Sciences of Ahmadu Bello University without, experiencing this revolutionary power.
Okay.
Yes. So I read some of our papers. Some of the papers we read were actually Marxist papers.
Right.
Dialectical materialism, and so on and so forth. So it's a literature that I read widely and also related with some aspects of our society.
Well, you went and read political science to be an active participant in trying to change the narrative, as you said. And when you came out, you joined your father's business, and of course, with time, you shifted base and then became a politician. Now, you started with which party?
My late uncle, Alhaji Bashir Tofa, was then a founding member of the MPN.
Okay.
And he and my father were very close.
All right.
So it was that influence that caused my father to join the MPN.
All right.
Right? And even myself, at a point, I had to leave the PRP.
Okay.
Because of that influence. And it did not change my philosophy.
Okay.
And I gained a lot of things, being a member of the PRP. And one of the areas of pain for me is that today our political parties have become hostage to certain elements, particularly our governors. You see, then I remember we used to purchase party cards. And the purchase of party card is sufficient proof that one believes in the ideology of that party and he will defend it anywhere. And every week we used to give what was called party dues.
Dues.
Yes, contribution weekly. And that was the money that the party used to use to run the affairs of the party on behalf of the people.
Okay.
And I also remember that even those who we wanted to contest for anything, we will recruit them and we will pay for the posters and other paraphernalia that were used for campaigning. Okay. We never allowed the aspirant or the candidate to spend anything of it.
Okay.
We go and look for contributions, and that is after we have made an exhaustive search for somebody who we wanted to who we wanted to contest for anything on our behalf, and we believe in him, in his character, so that he became easily marketable.
Okay.
So it was very easy for us to raise funds to campaign for any person, and more so because of the popularity of Malam Aminu Kano. We used to make handkerchiefs, badges, earrings with his picture.
Okay.
The day they are produced, the day these things were produced, the same day we'll sell all of them.
The good finish.
Yes, and we will make a profit. And we used the profit to run the affairs of the party.
Okay.
So I never witnessed any situation where somebody would be elected by his constituents in a primary election, and a godfather would come and say over his dead body. I never witnessed that. And I never witnessed a situation where somebody would go to the governor and tell him that he wanted to contest, and the governor would instruct the party, to field that person. I never witnessed it. The governor never did that, and in fact, he wouldn't do it. Everything is left to the party. The parties were very strong then. But of course, you cannot 100%, claim that everything is right in the parties.
Right.
But substantially speaking, everything was going okay. I witnessed how my uncle was elected. Alhaji Bashir Tofa was elected as the National Financial Secretary of the MPN. He contested election with somebody who was so rich and who was very close to President Shagari, because that man even financed the campaign of Shagari initially. They are the people who backed Alhaji Shagari with funds to contest for election. The man is very close to me now. I see him as a father. But of course, it's politics, so this is history.
It's history, really.
Yes, and then, because there was democracy, nobody would expect that the candidate of the president could not win election. And even the party national secretary, who was also the favorite of the president, lost that election in Kano. The national financial secretary position was won by my uncle.
Okay. Who wasn't the president?
And who didn't even have money.
Right. But he had people.
But he had people.
Right.
Today the story is different.
Okay.
So, the parties of yesterday, were more democratic, and they were stakeholder parties, unlike what we have today.
Okay. Now, we'll talk more about, what we have today, taking a leaf or taking a drawback to where you started through 1999, 1998, 1999 to date. But that will be after the break. You're watching Reflections reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. My guest this week is Alhaji Gali Uwarna Abba. Stay back. You're welcome back. So let's now look at you from the real political point of view. How come you find yourself in the PDP and not to continue with even the PRP that you started with and the radicalism or that radical idea you had? Did you think that you were really going to have your way in PDP when you joined it with these kind of ideas?
Well, I joined PDP regardless of whether these ideas would be welcomed or not. I thought that as a member of any political party, I have the right to express my ideas as dictated by my philosophy. I joined PDP for one reason. You know, one day, a friend of mine, he's late now, and myself, you know, we are going to come to Abuja from Kano. And that was just after General Abacha died and General Salam was in power. And that my friend was a banker and was very close to the former NSA, National Security Advisor, General Aliyu Gusso. And he called General Aliyu and asked him to give him an appointment. He wanted to see him. And he gave him an appointment somewhere along Ahmadu Bello Way at 12 noon. And by 12 noon, we were there, and Aliyu was there. I didn't know him then. And he apologized to my friend profusely, saying that he was very sorry that they had been conducting meetings because they wanted Nigeria to go back to democracy. And he was having a meeting with his colleagues in the military and certain people as to how Nigeria, you know, could be rejuvenated, you know, invigorated after what he termed as General Abacha's rule, right? And how Nigeria could now be rescued from the pariah state it was then, and that they were going to they wanted to bring back General Obasanjo, you know, to contest for the presidency and things like that whenever the ban of political parties is lifted. And General Obasanjo was somebody I used to admire when he was head of state and after. And as he was telling him, you know, things were going, you know, on in my mind. So after hearing him, I thought I must be part of this new situation where Nigeria, you know, is going to be rescued. So when the Absalam regime lifted the ban on politics and asked for political parties to be established, I looked at them and the political parties, and I was convinced that the right party for me was the People's Democratic Party. What was admirable about the PDP was that politicians who formerly were opposed to each other, you know, came together and formed the PDP, you know, with the desire to midwife another democracy for Nigeria. And I really admired any situation where people will, you know, bury their differences, not because they didn't have the differences, but because of the desire to move forward.
I'm a little bit fascinated about the formation of the PDP and how you joined it. These are strange bedfellows that happen to come together on the desire or with the desire to, you know, move the country forward. Are you not really apprehensive of the fact that this marriage could not last, then given your own strength in the philosophy you had before you joined the PDP?
Well, you see, the PDP started as G34. These 34 people came together. You know, they came from various political persuasions. They came together and decided that there must be democracy in Nigeria. And they went and confronted General Abacha. You know, they were led by Chief Solomon Lar. Was it Alex Okweme? Sorry. Chief Alex Okweme was their leader. And I felt convinced that these people are worthy to be followed. And what was interesting in that we knew them as politicians, and they died as politicians, not as businessmen. The parties that came together to make PDP, or the partners, were, like you said, strange bedfellows. They are the PF, People's Front, the General Adwas movement,
right.
The ACN, led by the likes of Adam Churuma, and the SPP, led by people like Muhammad Abubakar. These were, of course, strange bedfellows, but they decided to come together. When PDP was formed, they shared the positions. Executive positions in the party were 18. They were shared 6 each, and also agreed on even the positions. There was no dispute. And I think that was remarkable.
Okay.
And this coming together made the party to become successful.
All right. You got elected 1999. Can you take us back to 1999, then tell us what you met on the ground in the House of Representatives? Because the legislature was more or less like the greatest difference between the military and democracy. The legislature in place, which of course you headed, one of the major arms, the House of Representatives. How was Nigeria then? How was it then? What did you meet on the ground? It wasn't really a fresh, good start for beginners like you, Amos.
Well, really, personally, I never worked in government for a day.
Right.
I never worked in government before I became the Speaker of the House of Representatives. But, I used to interact with powerful people because of my grandfather. I used to see ministers, top Nigerians in his residence. They were very friendly with him. And that was the most I came close to people in government. And when I came to the House of Representatives, I met a place where there was so much, I met a place where there was so much neglect.
Okay.
That was even when I was the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. The staff used to tell me that because what I met was a situation where there was one secretary for 2 committees.
Okay.
One secretary for 2 committees. These committees are supposed to exercise oversight on the executive. And these committees, with the exception of the special committees, they are called standing committees, and they're supposed to exercise oversight over the executive arm. So every committee, is to exercise or was to exercise oversight over a particular ministry. And you have a secretary who is serving 2 committees. You have a secretary who is inexperienced, because the top person in the hierarchy of any ministry is the PAMSEC, permanent secretary. And you have a committee that is headed by someone who is not even up to the level of a deputy director.
Okay.
So you see, there was a gap between the executive and judicial arms on one hand and the legislative arm on one hand. A gap of 31 years. Because if you take from 1960 to date, of the 62 years we have been independent, 31 years, only 31 years were under a democracy. So I met a situation where there was, and still there is, so much executive bias on the part of Nigerians. So much executive bias, because ironically, even though it's the legislature that makes the difference between a democracy and a dictatorship, at the same time, most Nigerians regarded the legislature as an aberration.
Yeah, perhaps because of what they are observing.
Because of this high executive bias, you know, it's people, because of military rule, because of the long time we spent under military rule, people believe that the existence of the executive and the judiciary were the natural order of things. So that was what I met.
Okay.
And I met a situation where there was nothing for me to fall back upon when I became the speaker. Absolutely nothing.
How do you mean nothing?
I took over after a long time of military rule.
Yeah.
My predecessor was only there for 44 days. He resigned just after the committees were formed. So there was no time for him to do anything.
Okay.
So I didn't meet anything there. So the 4 years I spent in the House of Representatives, I was doing almost 3 or 4 things. I was building the office of the Speaker, building the House in its committees, and also, you know, as the fourth in the hierarchy in this country, I had so many responsibilities. I became elected then as the chairman, West African Speakers Conference, as young as I was. I was 42 then.
Yeah.
I was chairman, Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I was Africa region. I was chairman, African Parliamentary Union. And I was also chairman, Global Forum for Parliamentarians on Habitat. A very, very important and strategic endeavor, Habitat, you know. And
you didn't find it easy, I must say, because I could remember you were one that tried to give the legislature the independence it requires, as provided for in the Constitution and going by democracy, the separation of powers philosophy. How tough has it been with you, therefore, trying to get this independence for the legislature in your 4 years?
it was very tough, I must say. And, you know, when you have a situation where in the office of the Speaker and the Senate President of Nigerian National Assembly, you only have one copier, photocopier, for every member to come. Every member was coming to my office for photocopying. And members didn't have offices. A member of the House of Representatives in any country is an important member of that society, regardless of how you regard him. He's an important member of that society. And House work does not only entail going to the chamber and sit. Because you have committees, you have subcommittees. Some of these members are committee chairmen. Some of them were subcommittee chairmen. Everybody had an assignment. For example, if, you have committee on power, they have subcommittees on PHCN, that was NEPA, rural electrification, and so on and so forth. So you assign a member to oversee all these individual aspects of that committee. So they need officers. They needed officers to work, and we had no offices of 360 of us when we started in the House of Representatives. Not quite 50 of us had offices, and the executive did not help matters. They did not recognize that to be a problem. And so many other things. And you know that the legislature, unknown to most people, is a money guzzler. When, for example, a motion is raised or is introduced by a member and a resolution adopted by the House, you know, funds are needed to back that resolution.
How did you tackle this?
So we had, even though I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but we had a president who was not keen to look into all aspects of the needs of the legislature. He believed we were corrupt and things like that, which was wrong. And, talking about corruption, how the Senate presidency came about, was nothing but through corrupt means.
We'll get down to that later on. I'm just trying to see just trying to compare what you met on the ground and what you left.
Yeah,
how were you able to
telling you
tackle
that
the
gap.
issue of, yeah.
So what I did was to first of all situate myself. I am now the speaker. What must I do? I asked myself why I'm here why I was there in the first place. To help uplift the situation of Nigeria. So that was what guided me.
Okay.
And I thought I should begin by coalescing the House.
Okay.
Because when I became the speaker, there are almost 5 distinct groups arising from how the speakership position was fought and won. So we had our group which supported Ibrahim Salisu Buhari.
Okay.
Then others who wanted to become speaker, about 2 or 3 of them, had their own groups and things like that. And when the selection committee of the House sat down to allocate, committee chairmanships and things like that, other groups found out that they were marginalized.
Okay.
And so the House was not really stable up to the time I became the speaker.
Okay.
So when I became the speaker, I thought that the only way I could run the House effectively was to coalesce the House and make it one.
Okay.
And it was very painstaking because even my own group started suspecting me of bringing about people who are not among the group into the mainstream. They accused me, rather.
Yeah.
They accused me. And so it was not easy for me, even with my group. But I thought that as the leader of that House, it's wrong for me to accept a situation where some people would see me as their leader and others would not see me as their leader. I thought it was wrong and it must not be done. So I became determined to coalesce the House. And the only way to coalesce the House was to interact with everyone and bring about others from other groups into the mainstream of the House. This took me a while. And it was very painstaking. And I knew, of course, because my group felt they were going to lose their privileges. But then what I always told them was that as long as this House is coalesced, it has become one, it would be in a better place, in a better position. It will be better placed, to work. And as long as we work, positions would continually be created so that other people could have positions, because most people, what they are fighting for is to get positions.
Okay.
And that was what happened. So eventually, we coalesced the House, and then the House became one. And that was why that House was the most united House, in this dispensation. And even those who were antagonistic to the leadership, and after we left the House, they came and apologized to me as to their activities. And even though we knew why they were doing what they were doing, it was for business.
Okay.
Because whenever they were seen on television fighting with the Speaker or the House, they now, you now see them in ministries or in the villa, because the television will show them.
Yeah.
That was what they were doing.
one would also want to hear from you, as Nigerians who also want to hear, William, about the visit of Bill Clinton to Nigeria. Then you were the House Speaker then. And then the visit was very historic in the sense that that was about the second visit of an American president to Nigeria. And the first indeed during democracy because of our pariah status then the world over. How historic was that visit?
Well, it was historic because Nigeria received for the second time an American president, particularly coming to the National Assembly to address a joint session. I think that was the first time a foreigner was addressing the joint session of the National Assembly. And for me, it was very thrilling that it was when I was Speaker of the House and I read a speech that most Nigerians admired. So it was really an experience for me to receive Bill Clinton in the National Assembly.
Okay, now as we round up this program, we must dig into what the pains were then. What was a defining moment in the House of Representatives then? What really was the challenging theme that you will never forget as a speaker in the Fourth Republic?
There are many things that challenged me. Many, many things.
The most?
The most was the impeachment and election. The impeachment of Senator Evans Enwerem from the Senate presidency and the election of late Chuba Okadibo as the Senate president. It was very, very challenging.
How challenging was that?
For me, because you see, the idea of a Chuba Senate presidency was a joint idea of the House and the Senate.
Okay.
Because, left to the Senate, ab initio, in the first instance, Chuba Okadibo was supposed to be the Senate president because they were going to elect him. And some people sold this idea to the president then that he could not work with Chuba for reasons that I don't want to say. And the president now decided that even the proclamation of the House of the National Assembly, which was supposed to be made on the 3rd of June, he shifted it to the 6th of June. That's why the proclamation is today, the 6th of June, not the 3rd of June.
It was supposed to be on the 3rd.
It was postponed by 3 days.
Okay.
For him to be able to maneuver and manipulate how to bring somebody of his choice. And eventually, they worked with APP members and AD members and a part of PDP, to cause Senator Enwerem to be elected to become the Senate president. And we were not really happy with that because Senator Enwerem was not somebody that could help the image of the National Assembly, particularly its independence. And we thought that Chuba Okadibo had the intellect, the charisma, and the ability. And we thought he was the best person to lead the National Assembly. So we collaborated to bring that change about. And the House resolution that triggered, the impeachment and also the impeachment of Enwerem and the election of Chuba was a resolution that, among other things, stated that the House was not going to sit in a joint session with the Senate except Enwerem resigned. And he refused to resign. And I was going through nightmares because the Senate was also not able to, over several weeks, to organize to impeach him.
Okay.
The number of senators needed. And what was frustrating was that almost every time there would be shot by one senator.
Okay.
There was a time another senator opted not to participate, and they now needed to. It was very frustrating for me. And even the the Canadian Prime Minister was supposed to come to the National Assembly to address a joint session. That was not possible because the House has made this resolution. And if this situation continued, it will be a dangerous situation for the country. I went to Senator Enwere myself before the resolution was adopted and asked him to come to the committee on ethics that was investigating to apologize to them, and I will help him. He said he did not commit any offense.
Okay.
But after the resolution was adopted, he came to me thrice, and I told him off. Even the president, Obasanjo, called us and the Senate to intervene. I told the president that, look, we have a House resolution. So how could we solve this problem without violating our House resolution? I will not violate it.
Okay.
We spent 3 hours in the villa. Nothing happened. And we came back. And what was joyful for me was that a few days after that, we now got the senators, to get the adequate number of senators to impeach January.
Okay.
Elect, but it was very nightmarish.
All right.
Most people don't know this, but it was really a misadventure.
Oh, that's unfortunate for them. But you had a tough time there.
It was very tough. Like all other things. I had a tough time from the day I started up to the day I left. I never rested.
The name has been ringing bells since 1999 to date for those who must have come across Gali Umar Naba or heard about him. But Gali Umar Naba has not, since 2003, been heard again in political circles so much in terms of contest, in terms of participation, and whatever. What really happened? Before we round the baby, you can tell us why Nigerians would want to know.
Well, you see, when I contested to be a member of the House of Representatives, it was just me and my constituents, the electors, the delegates. And I also had the goodwill of my constituents, the elders, the youths, and so on and so forth. After 1999, you see, if I tell you what I went through during my primary election
in 1999.
In 2003.
2003.
In 1999, the delegates came to me and told me that, and said to me, sir, we have decided among the 5 of you that were contesting, 4 or 5 of us, we have decided that on merit, we are going to elect you. But we have been having problems in our residences because people have been coming to us, to induce us, to elect certain other people with all sorts of things. So please get us somewhere we can go and stay for the remainder of the days before the primary election. It was about 6 days before the election then. And we got a place for them. They did not ask me for anything. I did not promise them anything. They elected me. And that was how I came to the House of Representatives after general election. I won the general election, of course. And even when I was Speaker of the House, the trauma I went through over my primary election, and that trauma was only possible because the political party has been hijacked by the governor, and consequently the president himself. They didn't want a lot of us to come back from the House, and were marked for elimination. And prior to the day of the election, the delegates came and asked that they should be packed to somewhere because the state government wanted to evacuate them and place them somewhere, so they would not elect me, and they were going to be provided with funds and clothes and motorcycles. So we packed them and took them to Kasna. The following day, they came back for the election. The state government had arranged for the abduction of the chairman of the committee. They took him to the government house in Kano and hid him. Eventually, the assistant director of SSS in Kano came to me and told me that he was aware of what was happening and that over his dead body, that anything like that would happen to me. Because in the morning they started, in Kano State Radio, started making announcements that primary elections in my constituency was not going to take place in other constituencies, about 8 other constituencies, which was false. So he promised me that, he assured me that wherever the chairman of that panel sent by the PDP from Abuja to conduct the primary election, wherever he was going to take him out. He said he was going to look for him and he will come back to me. He came back to me later and told me that he found him in the government house and that he wanted a lady's dress to dress him up and take him out. So that was what he did. He took him out. He went and hid him somewhere, and he came to me and told me that I should tell the secretary of the party that the election should not take place until after midnight. Luckily for me, the secretary was with me because the party was torn into two. One half is with the governor, including the chairman, and one half is with our faction, including the secretary. So my primary election took place around 2 a.m., 2 in the morning. It was finished around 4:30 in the morning. That was what I went through, the speaker of this country. So from 2003, political parties have been hijacked. You know, politics has been taken away from the people to the government houses, and except you are in the good books of the governors or a particular president, no matter how popular you are in that party, you can never be anything because the delegates belong to them. They have obliterated the idea of elections within the parties. In fact, there is no internal democracy. And I don't want a situation whereby I go to people and start begging to become anything. That was what happened. But we are doing our best to see that these things are corrected.
Even off the stage.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one can see how you struggle to reconcile, you know, the beliefs you had, the commitments and the philosophy you had with the present situation. And that has not been so easy for you, really.
It has not been easy because, you see, in the last 20 years, when politics has been taken over by governors, you know, there has been a revolution in what we are supposed to have today is a revolution in knowledge because of democracy, because of what democracy has the potential to give us. But our governors have refused to allow people to enjoy that potentiality. So there have been a revolution in political illiteracy and other forms of illiteracy too. Because when there is democracy, people learn. Our people have not learned anything.
Yes. On a final note, Gali Umar Naba, tell us, what do you want to be remembered for
I want to be remembered as somebody that exposed the legislature to Nigerians. Before I became Speaker of the House of Representatives, people's idea of what the legislature was different. And after I left, the impression of most people have changed. I thought that we have a democracy and we must build our institutions, whether it is the presidency or the legislature or the judiciary or even our political parties, which are more important, because whatever affects the health of the political party, spreads to the larger community. If political parties are not healthy, then there is no way the economy, the polity, and the society will witness any development.
Yeah.
And that is what is going on in this country. The health of a political system can be gauged from the way and manner the political parties in that society are run. And nobody can tell us that our political parties are being run well.
Okay.
And I want to be remembered as somebody that has, struggled to make political development in Nigeria better.
It's a pleasure to be part of this program this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
A very big thank you to you out there for coming along. It has been a discussion with Gali Umar Naba, the second Speaker of the Fourth Republic, and of course a household name in Nigerian politics. Reflections will be back next week. I'm Yusuf Nadabusu. Bye-bye.
"24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
We all have stories to tell.
The small boy kicked me to open fire, so I said, okay, you can cross the right hand. So that's for how my right hand was covered.
He's working with Closhi with which year that it was that guy. No, he's not an ordinary eye. No, it's not an eye. Juju use marry his wife.
It all depends on how I handle my story and how you're able to handle your own story.
It is what you decide in your mind that determines you, not your situation.
I don't hear word. But one thing is, we are better together.
Dushma, Lucy, Pius,
Welcome to Against All Odds on the Nigerian Television Authority, a program that brings to your doorstep the lives of persons with disability.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
There's a start.
Archbishop of basketball. He hung on that net like a stalk up a tree. NTA Sports 24 brings you all sports, all time and all day. Tune in to watch NTA Sports 24 on Star Times Channel 270, Star Sat on Channel 434, and Free TV on Channel 731. NTA Sports 24, where sports thrive.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Transportation, be it in Nigeria, be it globally, remains as important as you and I waking up and looking for our means of livelihood. Yes, we must move out and get something done. There has to be some form of mobility, be it with the keke, Okada, moto, and a lot of us may not know this. The boats, the ferries, the waterways are playing very top priority when it comes to movement, which is why we're looking at the issues around it. Why are there no proper regulations? Or maybe there are proper regulations, but enforcement becomes issues. Why are people insisting on doing the wrong things on the road? Who regulates what? Today we're paying a lot of attention on the waterways, and a lot of stories will be coming in from Lagos and Port Harcourt and some other parts of the country where the water transportation is greatly used. I don't know, have you ever tried, Shiki? Have you ever used water to travel?
No, never.
Are you scared of water?
Yeah, I'm actually scared of water, and anyway, I've never tried it. I've not had a reason to try it.
I know Francis put something together.
Yeah, we'll be, just as you said, we'll do more on waterways. But before then, we'll be talking about regulation and who licenses public transportation, that is the operators. Now let's join Francis Ogbe, who will give us the lead on this. He'll be our guide.
The basic necessities of life, namely food, clothes, and shelter, are impossible to be achieved in any society without transportation. And without transportation, life as it is today will be inconceivable. Ideally, every local government should have its own transportation system. But what is the situation today? Who is regulating the public transport sector?
A local government has the right to operate a transport system and regulate it by itself. The state also has the right to operate a transport system and regulate it by itself. And then the federal, for now, is the only one regulating here. You remember we used to have in Abuja what we call BRT. BRT was initiated in Lagos, and the regulator of BRT in Lagos is Lamata. So, and in fact, Lagos is a model actually, although it's not the best, but Lagos is a model because the regulation in Lagos is still a little better. But it needs to be done to the point that all those buses that are one chance buses that are carrying people away do no longer happen. So that's a weak link in the Lagos aspect. So Abuja tried to catch up, to do what is called BRT, bus rapid, transit. In any city like Abuja, actually, you don't see small vehicles like this carrying people up and down. And in London, even when you are going to have small vehicles like this, you have the black cab. You have the black cab, The black cab has regulators that regulate it. They know the name of the driver, they know the name of the name of the vehicle, they know the brand of the vehicle, they know the number of the vehicle, they have the details of the driver. So if the driver commits an infraction, if the driver is seen, there's camera all over the place. You see, the hallmark of regulation is registration. When you want to regulate something and you are not registering the operators, that's where the problem came from. All these Kabu operators in Abuja, who registered them? Nobody registered them. If you are just like going home now, just with a look, Francis is broke today. How do I make money? You convert your vehicle to a taxi, and then you are free to do it. And then when you see that you make money today, so you keep doing it every day.
A few states in Nigeria are moving towards smart technology initiatives to drive efficiency in economic activities, manage data, and secure residents. Within cities, ride-hailing platforms like Uber and Bolt tap the democratic nature of the internet to provide cab services and regulate service delivery to their own standards digitally.
Of course, you knew how Uber started. Some two or three boys wanted to go to party. You understand me? And so they went for club in the night. They were coming back. They didn't see any taxi that would carry them. And then they said, wait a minute. At this hour, why do taxi work and stop at a particular time? They should be able to work 24 hours. And they came together and established this. And once they saw that the system is working, it's app-based. So they made sure that they have a franchise manager in any country. There's a franchise manager in Nigeria. The one in charge of Nigeria now also established franchise managers for Abuja, for Port Harcourt, for Lagos. This is where, organization comes from. So if you want to join that system, you must look for the office of the franchise manager for your town. And then when you get there, they also have, registered mechanics that will certify that your vehicle is worthy. When a system is run in the private sector way, that's what you have. But when you run a system in a bureaucratic way, what you have is what you see all around. Commotion, people being kidnapped, through one-chance vehicles, and so on and so forth, and lack of organization anywhere.
While yellow and black are widely accepted as the colors of cabs all over the world, it isn't the same in Nigeria. Most states have distinct uniform colors to signify cabs or drops, as they are fondly called. The signature yellow and black have become synonymous with Lagos, while Abuja uses the national colors of green and white.
In New York, it's yellow taxi. That's identity. But in a state like Dallas, Texas, no taxi. You have to drive your car. If you cannot drive your car, you do BRT. And the BRT has identity. And then they have their metro, their train system. It has identity. So Lagos has succeeded with the identity of yellow bus. For example, we can say, okay, in Abuja, what's our national color? Or what's our color code? And then we can now say, okay, this color code, we are going to have 4 color code. And we are going to break, Abuja is cadastral zone. So cadastral zone 1, this is the color. Cadastral zone 2, this is the color. Cadastral zone 3, this is the color. It promotes safety, it promotes orderliness, it gives identity. So these are the advantages of following those kind of systems.
Motorcycle operators, popularly known as Okada riders, have become nuisance on many roads in Nigeria. The Okada business has become an all-comers affair, as criminal-minded persons are using them for their nefarious activities. Consequently, the federal government is considering a ban on the use of commercial motorcycles.
We have seen that Okada became a means of transportation commercially, and no one is in charge of regulating them. So they have no number plate, they have no license plate, and the driver the rider does not have a license. So a lot of people were killed. Go to hospital, you see people whose legs have been maimed. So the noise made people to say, okay, let's ban Okada inside the city. Let Okada only be in the outskirts. Then these guys that are riding Okada inside the city, which work would they do? Keke came in as another means of empowerment. So they began to ride Keke, not licensed, not trained, the same attitude. And that's why you see that the same way, Okada people used to behave, the same way Keke people behave.
Government obligation to safeguard public safety and welfare can only be executed through regulation in the road transport industry. Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on licensing the public transport sector.
Yeah, Francis Ogbe there setting the tone for our discussion today, that is licensing and regulation of public transport sector. There is something I just want to point out. You know that public transport sector is actually a subsector of the economy, and its efficiency and effectiveness add up to the economy. So that is why regulation is really important, and that is why this discourse is really
Paramount,
important.
yes.
So, Lizzie.
You know, I was watching that and listening, with intense, understanding. And the last bit the man said caught me. He says, the Okada people, when it was banned, they moved into the tricycle, that's the keke, and the same attitude, the same this, and it simply boils down to the thing we said that, taking on a new name does not change your DNA.
Definitely.
There has to be a lot of drilling to be able to change your DNA and get it right, and that comes only from training and regulation. And you mentioned something about being part of, economy. It's big deal, really. It's a big deal, which is why we all must look forward, towards having a smart city. When I say smart city, it's imperative that transportation, it becomes a culture, because if I have to go to work, I must not drive. I should be able to get out there, take a bus. You go to smart cities in the world, you're sitting down and you never know it. The next senator, exactly, the next person sitting beside you could just be a congressman, and he's sitting there in the bus. And it doesn't mean anything. But tell me, I don't know, how many of our senators in Nigeria can, jump into BRT? I need to know. But then, while we are asking that question, Shikiola, sitting right here with me, you actually took a job of that. Let's see what
I was on the field earlier.
By the year 2030, Sustainable Development Goals SDGs 11 targets to achieve sustainable cities and communities globally, with emphasis on access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transportation system for all strata of the society. This brings to mind the concept of smart city. Nigeria likewise has some great cities to her credit, talking about Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and others. But how smart are the cities in terms of mobility? Abuja City, for instance, no doubt are the great cities of the world. No doubt. With its scenic beauty, smart infrastructure, and seemingly smart citizens and governance. On daily basis as they jostle for their daily livelihood. In terms of availability, there are an array of different public transport systems, ranging from buses, taxis, motorbikes, and bicycles. This poses the question of who licenses public transport system or regulates their operation, and what may be the modus operandi of their operation.
The way it is structured by the regulations that we have is that nobody is supposed to just bring vehicle into the road for the purpose of hire and reward without belonging to what we refer to as a licensed operator. A licensed operator, like operator's license, is the authority that is given to an entity or an individual to operate fleet of vehicle for the purpose of hire and reward in FCT. And so everybody that wants to operate now have to go under a particular licensed operator for them to be able to operate. This license is given by the Secretary Transportation of the FCT. We now, as the Directorate of Road Traffic Service of the FCT, we regulate and enforce that aspect of regulation.
What is in it for the passenger, as the question of safety remains germane?
Any taxi that you see green, white, green, and blue on top of the road, that is under National Union of Road Transport Workers. Any one that you see, just take by the side, you will see the number. You can take the number. So if there is anything that happen, just contact any of the union office that this is the number you enter. We will not bring it out. We have their everything, their list and their picture, everything. All our town service within the town. Every vehicle that are loaded here, it has manifest. We are not praying for anything. Whatever anything, they must, let's say something happened, maybe they got an accident, it involved life, or maybe it's fracture or whatever. With that manifest, we will trace that person family. And our union that is on certain money that they are been assisting that fellow that anything that happened. Even the vehicle that you pay, if you pay 1,000 naira, 500 naira, let's say 50 naira or 100 naira go to that manifest. So if you not happen to you, happen to Mr. A, or you happen to Mr. Ibrahim or Mr. John, from that money that we are keeping, that is the money our headquarter will now send for those families to come and assist them. Which is something that if you boarded the vehicle or by this motor association or illegal motor park, you can't see that kind of thing. That is the advantage of entering vehicle in the park.
What we want to do is we certify a vehicle. If it is okay, it enters into the database. So now, at the level of the operators, they can now match a vehicle that is available to do business and a driver that is available to do business. And there is a tool that we're going to use. There's going to be a large side numbering. It's large side numbering that as an individual, you can pick up your phone. And if you have a smartphone, you have an app, Abuja Inspector, you can verify.
It is believed that a better regulated public transport system will go a long way in shaping other important aspects of any given city. A well-coordinated public transport system may lead to less traffic, thereby preserve the infrastructure, enhance security, and guarantee a more safe and sober society.
Okay, so now you pick a bit of that. If we must develop the way we desire, if we must have all the necessities it is to, work and earn a living, mobility can never be underrated at this point. We have a guest in Lagos, and he is one personality that will be speaking a whole lot. I think he will stay with us for a very long time today. He is the fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transportation and Nigerian Institute of Management. He's also the former international vice president of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and he is the Magayaki of Zazu Emirates. His name is Malam Ibrahim Jibril. Nice to have you with us, sir. I would like to ask you a question pointedly. With all that you have been able to accomplish, you're well vested and exposed to transportation. Do you think, sometimes we talk, people think we're making noise. Do you think that we in Nigeria, we've gotten it right with transportation?
Transportation is the live wire of any economy. And by all standards, it has been shown that transportation contributes about 12% to the global GDP. So you can imagine how weighty the contribution of transportation is to the global economy. And having said that, we definitely have put some regulations in place, but there is a lot to be done. For example, as good news, we recently have heard that the National Transportation Policy is before the presidency for approval. But this is an instrument that we have been drafting and redrafting for over 3 decades now. And to be honest with you, if you do not have the National Transport Policy on the ground, which serves as the foundation for other instruments to spring up, like the laws and regulations in the area of transportation, then it will be that we're just beating around the bush. We definitely need that policy in place in order to guide the industry in the way we do things. But what do we have today? We're formulating laws, we're coming up drafting regulations, and we don't even have a national transport policy in place. But the good thing is that the jerry news is that we understand it is currently in the presidency awaiting approval. So we look forward to that, and we pray that it doesn't take as long as it has been taken in the past. we will understand that the aviation is properly regulated because it is based on a domesticated convention. And in that regard, there is so much regulation in place. And to be honest with you, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has been doing a lot with regards to technical regulation. But unfortunately, there are other services that we do not get it right, and it appears nothing is being done about it. And we will also commend the Federal Aviation Authority of Nigeria, who have been trying to put good airport facilities in place in recent times. And I think the aviation industry is a little bit better regulated than some other modes of transportation. If we go to the maritime industry, we also have regulations based on domesticated conventions, and I think NEMASA is in charge. Definitely it is in charge of regulating the maritime industry. That is with blue waters. But with the brown waters, is Nigerian National Inland Waterways Authority that is in charge. We'll come to look at that also and see where we are getting it right and how we are not getting it right in these areas. Of course, the area, the mode that is almost completely unregulated is the road mode. That area, it appears we have no effective regulations in place, no proper enforcement, and compliance is certainly lacking. And that is why we're having all the chaos we're having on our roads today. Now, the licensing of motor vehicles in Nigeria is under the purview of the state government through the state licensing offices of the state governments. And what is happening now is far, far, far different from what we used to experience in the 70s. I recall late 60s and early 70s, I used to ride my bicycle for over 10 kilometers to go to primary school. And that time, you dare not ride your bicycle without a license. The license is always tied or screwed onto the spoke of the bicycle. And there is proper checks on the road. So the bicycle is licensed, the motorcycle is licensed, and the motor vehicle is licensed. But that is not what we're seeing today. Today, it appears the licensing is just an avenue of generating revenue for state governments, and that is it. We don't see any compliance, and we don't see any enforcement in that regard. As long as you register your vehicle with the license authority, and you are stopped by enforcement officers on the road, if you can show them those documents are up to date, then you are free to go. If not, what is the penalty? Nothing apart from asking you to pay the dues. If there are charges for non-compliance, you are asked to pay. And it's all about revenue. There are no consequences for failure to comply with some of these rules and regulations that we find in the road mode transport. Unfortunately, because of this utter neglect, the trade unions have virtually taken over the regulation of the road mode, particularly with commercial vehicle operation. And it is their own standards that are being followed, and it is their enforcement guidelines that drivers that are on commercial vehicles are complying with. And of course, it is not in good perspective that the proper regulators are leaving these things out. Recently, we have seen states like Lagos State and the Abuja Federal Capital Territory, and to some extent, Kano and Kaduna, coming up with outfits that are trying to enforce some of these things. But they are still going back to the days that we only check for these particulars, and that is all. We never check. In fact, to be honest with you, we have had cases, very many cases, where people carry driver's license, but they have not been tested. So, to be honest with you, we have not been able to get it right when it comes to proper regulation in this industry.
Emirate, thank you. I see a lot of passion as you speak. That's that it comes from deep within. That's real good. You actually made me smile when you talked about the bicycle and riding 10 kilometers to school. That sounds a lot of fun. And then to think that you actually have to attach your license right on the wheels. That's interesting. But I know you have a question for him.
Yeah, he spoke about lack of proper regulation on road transportation, especially while the aviation sector and the maritime sector have better regulation. So what should actually be done on the part of government? You made mention of the fact that licensing and on the part of government has been reduced to mere generation of revenue. So what should we do to actually get it right from the part of government so that it is not left only in the hand of the unions, road transport unions?
See to the approval of the National Transport Policy as quickly as possible, such that other activities will hinge on the policy. Agreed, we already have laws in place, but how are they being implemented? To be honest with you, like Francis mentioned earlier, to be able to manage an industry like this, you must have accurate data. Why are we licensing? Why are we registering? It's for the purpose of having a database to be able to plan, to be able to track operators and other role players, stakeholders in the industry, and to be able to be used for research purposes and to be able to have data for investment purposes. These are things that are key for us to have a sane and safe transport system in the country. Now, of course, we have the road safety, Federal Road Safety Corps, who have been doing some good job in the industry, but they have challenges. And you can see quite all right that they have not been able to do effective enforcement as it is required. There are so many practices that are unprofessional. There are so many practices that are not safe. And to be honest with you, for an organization like that, the Road Safety Corps, safety is paramount. And we still see vehicles, not even small vehicles, trucks, parking on shoulders of roads, which cause a lot of accidents. Where is the enforcement arm? If people are refusing to comply, I personally would love to see people complying rather than people forced to comply. Because that is when you see people, like in other climes, people accepting the rule as it is and people practicing or abiding by them. And that is when you will have a sane society. But where people are refusing to comply, then you need to enforce it. And where are the enforcement arms? We have seen in the past where the VIOs, Vehicle Inspection Officers, and in some places they are called Road Transport Service Directorates, they were in the past quite effective. And I will be honest with you, the first time I got my driver's license in 1976, I went to the head of the VIO's office in Kaduna State, and I told him my father asked me to see him so that I would be given a driver's license. He said, good, sit down. He called the VIO, asked them to go and register me, and gave me a proper test. He refused to recognize that anybody sent me to him. Meanwhile, let me be honest with you, my father didn't send me, but I wanted an avenue that I would be listened to as quickly as possible. And I was listened to, but I had to go through the test. As compared to what is happening now, how many people actually go for the test? How many people even know the road signs? How many people do we have that have gone through driving schools? Not many, but they end up with driver's licenses. There is a lot of confusion in that area. And I think we need to do more in terms of regulation. Having a database is very important because the licensing offices are supposed to register vehicles and register their operators for the purpose of having a database. Like Francis mentioned earlier, it is easy for tracking. And that is the only way I added earlier, that you can do some planning with the figures and the numbers that you have. And I think there's a lot that we need to do in terms of enforcement in this country. Like many other sectors in the country, enforcement has been a challenge. And I think we have to focus on that more and more in order to have a saner transport and logistics community in Nigeria.
Because you've been exposing a whole lot of things for a lot of us Nigerians. I know that a lot of times people don't want to go through the hassle of sitting down to collect the prerequisites before driving. Parents actually help their children to get these things done. Now, my question is, do you think is lack of proper orientation? Do we need to go back to resensitize our people? I remember you mentioned 1976. Wow, when you took your driver's license test. And it wasn't for you to jump hurdles. You did the right thing. Should we take it back to the primary school, teach people, basics? I know they teach signs and symbols of the road. Do we also help them to understand that before they get the paper, they should be prepared? Someone got a driver's license in America and she actually threw a party because it's not easy to get it. But in Nigeria, it's a walkover. Do we need to reorientate the minds of our people here?
Like, for example, my institute, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, we have started taking the education of road transport to the primary schools, to the grassroots, so that children will come up with the knowledge of what transportation is and what they need to do in order to key in to the regulations that abide in the country. Now, it is very good for children to start, and that is why you see even from the nursery level and primary one, children are beginning to be taught to identify the traffic lights. The red for stop, the amber to get ready, and the green to go. Even primary school students know that. But of course, we need to take it further. We need to go further in the terms of education, which I said our institute has started taking this to the primary schools so that these children are enlightened and well informed of what these requirements are in the industry at their level, of course. And it will graduate to them knowing more as they move higher up the ladder. Now, let me be honest with you. Regulation in Nigeria has become something that is just on paper to some extent as far as the road transport is concerned. And I would wish to see a situation where more enlightenment is done, where people are beginning to be made aware. It's unfortunate that Nigerians have taken